Alright, shalom. All praise to Yahweh by Shimi Hawashai. Double honors to our elders, which are the elders of GMS. And much love to you brothers on the four corners of the planet that's pushing this truth with sincerity, honesty, and faith to help us get out of this place that the Most High is short to destroy, man. So he's on his way. And I'm going to open up with this verse. This is Romans 13 and 10. It says, "Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore love is fulfilling of the law. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep." That's how we know we're at the end, because the Most High has woken us out of sleep. And how has he woken us up is through the Spirit and the Scriptures and the knowledge of the Scriptures, and to know the prophecies that are coming to pass. Alright, and it says, and now knowing the time, and it says, in that knowing, Slakia, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believed. So now, when we came into this, you know, we had a set time. We didn't know how Russia and America was going to get into it, but we knew it was going to happen through the prophecy and through the faith of believing on Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So now we see how that prophecy could come to pass, or we have a high likelihood of how it's going to come to pass with this Ukraine situation, because they're splitting off and going into another Cold War. So this is an update on what's going on in the Kiev situation and the Crimea situation. They just had a vote this past weekend to vote in Crimea if they were going to become a part of Russia again, which it passed with a 93% percentile. So majority of the people want to be a part of Russia. So they're calling, Kiev is now calling Russia, or what Russia did in Crimea, illegal, but it's the same thing that they did in Kiev. You see the hypocrisy in it. So we're at the war. It's just not public that they're warned fully, but we know that they're locked horns, man. So we'll play this and we'll get into scriptures.
It's believed armed men sent from Kiev have attacked the Crimean Interior Ministry, and our TZ Group Kunov can tell us more right now live. Hi there, Igor. So bring us up to date.
Over the night, several groups of armed men sent from Kiev tried to capture several administrative buildings here in the Crimea, including the Interior Ministry, but self-defense squads, as they're known here, repelled the attack, although several people are reported to have been injured. Although this is according to the local prime minister, who has now announced that he is putting all the local security services in the Crimea under his control, including the police, the military, the navy, and border guards. Local authorities have also set a new date for a referendum aimed to establish more autonomy from Kiev, and have asked Russia for protection. Now, Moscow says that it will pay attention to these requests and is also very concerned about the events here in the Crimea. It's also said that it's really disappointed with the new authorities in Kiev aggravating the situation like that here in the Autonomous Republic.
Russia is deeply concerned with the recent developments in Crimea. In the early hours of March the 1st, armed men sent from Kiev made an attempt to seize the Interior Ministry of the Crimean Autonomous Republic. This treacherous provocation left several people injured. Thanks to the resolute actions of the self-defense squads, the attempt to seize the building was repelled. This latest incident proves that certain political circles in Kiev are eager to destabilize the situation in the Crimea Peninsula. We urge those who issue such orders from Kiev to show restraint. We believe that a further escalation of the already tense situation in Crimea is irresponsible.
Now, the acting prime minister in Kiev has been saying that local authorities have no legal rights to hold any type of independent referendum under new laws which have been passed just recently in Kiev. And also they've been saying that they're going to try to do everything in their power to prevent tourists from coming to the Crimea during the summer, including Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and other Europeans. Now, in the meantime, these so-called self-defense squads have been patrolling the key facilities in the Crimea, including two airports, the building of the local parliament, and a TV channel. And basically people here are not recognizing these new authorities in Kiev, saying that they are extremists who've hijacked power. Now, Russia has also said that it's ready to grant citizenship to members of the former Berkut SWAT teams who fought against the rioters during the violence in Kiev. And for more on this, here's a report by my colleague, Maria Finoshina.
This is the Golden Eagle's swan song, the Berkut.
Ukraine's elite police force. After weeks of deadly clashes in the capital Kiev, on the orders of the Ministry of Internal Affairs to protect government buildings from rioters, the Berkuts are no more. Ukraine's new authorities were quick to disband the thousands-strong anti-riot unit. Former officers were made to publicly kneel in western Ukraine and beg for forgiveness, while locals shouted shame, pelting them with objects. The country's acting interior minister posted on his internet page that the Berkuts are finished.
It's hard for us. There are many among us who sacrificed their health and lives to protect citizens, and after 22 years of service, they just threw us out like garbage. It's painful.
Viktor Denisov spent 2 decades in the Ukrainian police. He says the Berkuts in Kiev were simply unprepared to face armed protesters while trying to carry out their duty. On Friday, during his press briefing in Russia, President Yanukovych did...
Let me read you something. This is the book of Matthew 10, verse 34. It says, "Think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword." That's what Yahushua is coming for, man. Now we can see he's coming for a sword, man. There's no peace in the whole earth. There's not one drop of peace unless you go to one of them Polynesian islands. But even there's not peaceful. That's like a fake peace. Okay? The Most High is coming. He's setting brother against brother. You got Kiev and you got, they're the same people, man. The Most High's got confusion. These are all Edomites at the end of the day. Okay? Let's not get it twisted. This is the Most High's he's setting a Edomite against Edomite, man. Okay? Because they're the ones ruling. You Jakes, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you're at the bottom of the barrel, man. You ain't in no power seat at all. You're just gonna be the collateral damage, man, through all of this. The elites are trying to destroy you with all of this war. Okay? But let's read it again. It says, think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I have come to set man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. This situation with Kiev and the Crimea is a perfect example. I'm not saying that this verse is just touching on that, because you have what? You have families against families. You have Ukrainian-born so-called children that are going against their parents that are Russian-born. They brought their children to Ukraine, but then now they're rising up against their own mothers, and their mothers are rising up against sons. You don't think some of those guards in that Burqa or the Golden Eagle, you don't think that some of their families out in that crowd screaming shame on them? Alright, and it says, verse 36, "And the man's foe shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father, mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." So that's where it's going into, and just showing you that it's going to happen on a wide scale, and especially in Babylon, America.
They apologize for that.
Unarmed Berkut officers have had Molotov cocktails thrown at them, been shot at by live ammunition, and killed. I apologize to these courageous people who have stood up and suffered. I can't say that I don't accept these apologies. At the end of the day, we didn't fight for Yanukovych, and it was not him personally we protected. We tried to protect public order to allow the state to function.
I show Victor one of numerous videos posted on YouTube showing the Berkuts in action. He keeps silent while watching.
On these videos, you can't see what these people who the Berkuts are beating were doing before they were arrested. What was going on there was a real war, and only experienced people with special training could tolerate that, and the violence they witnessed led to more violence.
Vladimir, head of Berkut Veteran Association, believes that the warring sides were far from equal.
The Berkuts were not professional when they faced a well-financed and a well-trained force. Their reconnaissance was excellent. They knew about our tactics and strategies.
What should ring bells? Well-financed and well, because who did you see in the crowd giving out candies. You seen McCain, and you seen I don't know, I think Hillary might have been there. If she wasn't, Slovakia. But they were passing out treats and shit to the damn rioters in Kiev, man. So that shows you who funded them and who trained them, okay?
There were traitors in every department. We were naked and blind.
With Berkut's reputation now fatally undermined by the interim government in Kiev, there remains at least one place in Ukraine where they're still respected. Ukraine's southern autonomous region of Crimea recognized neither Kiev's new masters nor their laws, and they refused to disarm the Berkuts. In fact, they reinforced them instead.
This is the headquarters of Ukraine's Berkut here in Crimea's Simferopol. As you can see, the building is surrounded by barricades and patrolled round the clock. So-called People's Guards are here day and night. They say they're worried about attacks. This is the upside-down reality of Ukraine today. Those whose mission just until recently was to secure peace and prosperity of the country's population are today in need of protection themselves.
People here have different backgrounds. They're from different ethnic groups, but they share one common goal.
We are protecting Berkut from the army of thugs who came to power as the result of the armed coup. They're controlling the puppet government that's issuing decrees at gunpoint, including disarming and storming Berkut. We are protecting their families. Berkut's officers are also our protectors against people who are committing armed terror in other areas of Ukraine.
Those who gathered here say they don't want violence, but if it comes here, they would be ready to resist, even if they have to pay with their own lives.
So it's heating up, man. Ain't a drop of peace in the world right now. And that's a beautiful thing. Like it says, it's a woman in travail. The kingdom of heaven shall be a woman in travail, man. These are the birth pains that the Lord spoke of, man.
Fox News now confirming Russia has seized a natural gas plant inside Ukraine, marking the first move outside Crimea, where Russian troops have been stationed since last month. Now, this comes on the heels of that vote on whether Crimea will secede from Ukraine and join Russia. Earlier today, the UN Security Council failed to adopt a draft resolution rejecting the results of tomorrow's vote, Russia vetoing the initiative.
The markets are not trembling, but are certainly sensitive to developments now that tensions have risen in the region over the Ukrainian crisis and the confiscation, the invasion and confiscation of Crimea. One wonders how much more world economies, world markets can take if the United States and Russia continue to escalate their focus and their threats and explore publicly the possibilities of what may be. And I'm referring specifically today to the Secretary of State General talking about things can get very ugly very quickly.
Very quickly on Ukraine. It can get ugly fast if the wrong choices are made. And it can get ugly in multiple directions. So our hope is that indeed there is a way to have a reasonable outcome here.
Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
Man, imagine that hitting America, man. All them jellyfish come down on you. Them paratroopers, man. They're gonna be paratrooping in the ghettos, man. That's what they're gonna be doing to you. You 2/3. They're gonna be paratrooping on your ass. Hey, man, we living in a beautiful time, man. Let me get some scripts out, man. We living in a time that was hey, the Lord said, look, it come to pass. Though it tarry, wait for it. It was tarrying. Now you can't keep up with the stuff, man. It's coming so fast that we just can be just like it says, man. Pray and hope, man. Keep faith. Keep faith, because we're going to need it in these last days. It's the book of Revelations 20, verse 8. Revelations 20 and verse 8, and it says, and shall go out it says, when the 1,000 year, verse 8, and shall go out and deceive the nations where in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the numbers of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camps of the saints about in the beloved city, and the fire came down from the Most High of heaven and devoured them. Okay, and just jump to 2nd Ezra. I'm just gonna try to get these scripts real quick. It's the book of 2nd Ezra. Seven and Ezra. So this is 2nd Ezra 7 and verse 43. This is verse 42. It says, he answered me and said, this present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality to come, wherein corruption is past. So do you see how you should welcome this time? That's what it told us. Let me read it again. Verse 43. This is 2nd Ezra 7 verse 43. It says, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time. What time? The time we live in. The time of Esau's rulership. And it says, and the beginning of the immortality for to come. What is that? The kingdom of Israel, Yasharallah. And it says, wherein corruption is past, because we're going to be made perfect. Okay? And the world is going to be ruled by righteous entities, which is Yahushai's kingdom, and which transfers to the Israelite kingdom, Yasharallah. Okay? Which is you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It says, intemperance is at an end. Indefinitely, it says, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, the truth is sprung up. Okay, so we'll play this. We'll play this video right here.
We're joined by Bill Jones with the Executive Intelligence Review from Washington. Welcome to the program, sir. Mr. Jones, first of all, just how much is Ukraine on the brink of civil war that would, according to many, divide the country?
Well, I think we're on the brink of a war between nuclear powers. Obviously, the Russians have taken measures which they feel is necessary for the defense of their citizenry, and given the fact that much of this opposition it consists of openly fascist parties, both anti-Russian as well as anti-Semitic. There is a real danger, and so it does seem that the Russians have justification in measures that are being taken. But right now, it looks like it's face down between the two presidents, and this is far more dangerous than a simple civil war within the nation itself.
So correct me if I'm wrong, are we in another Cold War?
We are definitely in something of another Cold War. You, of course, have had the NATO movement eastward, which encompasses more and more countries. Russia is feeling itself more and more threatened. This is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. Ukraine, which has been absolutely essential for Russia, and which they've been connected to for centuries, is very critical. And if Ukraine develops an administration that is in fact anti-Russian, then this can very easily go from Cold War to something a little bit more hot, that is a war between nuclear powers.
Indeed. Now, with Russian military forces currently stationed in Ukraine's Crimea region, it's interesting to see how a few U.S. senators and representatives have reacted to this. I mean, some of them have been calling on Washington to punish Vladimir Putin. Just Just how do you think the US will respond if we see a military escalation in Ukraine?
Well, that remains to be seen. I think the voices that are raised about punishing Putin are really pushing us to the brink. The only thing that can really get us out of this dilemma is a diplomatic initiative which involves discussions between the U.S., Europe, European Union, and Russia over the situation in Ukraine. And that's something that neither of the parties has seemed inclined to do. But to the extent that the Russian citizens and Russian-speaking citizens as well in Crimea feel themselves threatened by this new administration in Kiev, then Russia does have a responsibility to come to their rescue.
All right, Bill Jones with the Executive Intelligence Review from Washington. Thanks for the thoughts there, sir.
All right, so with that, let me read this. This is Ezra's. With that, I'm going to say all praise to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders of GMS. Much love to you brothers on the four corners of the planet that's doing this truth with sincerity, faith, and honesty. So all I got to say is keep faith, man. Keep faith. Shalom.